Ah, So this will be part 2 of wet scanning, and we're going to cover how to create the sandwich on our holder. So this is, bring that up a little bit. This is our holder, glass tray. This is optical glass. And one thing to note is this strip up here. This needs to go to the top of the scanning tray, the bin. When you're scanning, the scanner bar itself calibrates by looking through this piece. So if you turn this around and have the solid part at the top, it can't calibrate itself. It's going to give you a false reading. All right, so we're just going to go through 35 millimeter. If you're doing 4x5, you just need to cut a piece of acetate down, but it's the same. We're going to use these pre-cut strips, and I'll just pull a piece out. So this should work with a normal 5-cut 35 millimeter strip or 2 1/4. If you're cutting this at all ever, you need to make sure is that you don't cut anything too large. So I have approximately a 1/2 inch clearance at the top and the bottom. It overlaps on either side by about 1 inch. Which for 35 millimeters is a bit too much perhaps, but this is also intended for 2 1/4, so works fine. All right, so we're going to do 2 things. We're going to take the scanning fluid and run a strip lengthwise, and then we're going to put the negative onto that, run another bead of scanning fluid, and then a piece of acetate. We don't want to hesitate. We want to do this not real quickly, don't rush it, but bear in mind that the scanning fluid does begin to evaporate as soon as it's exposed to air. So, do it without too much hesitation, okay? And have things prepped ahead of time, laid out, so you know where everything is. All right, so, and don't waste this, but don't be too conservative. So we're gonna just put a strip down here. We're gonna lay the film down with the emulsion facing up. We're going to put more scanning fluid down, and then we're going to put our acetate. And we're going to do our best not to get scanning fluid on top of the acetate. We're going to use our finger to push out, and I'm going in one direction, but I want to push out the fluid so I have a nice tight sandwich and we don't have air bubbles. Try to keep this fairly perpendicular to the edges. Excuse me. We don't want this to be at an angle. Okay. So that part of it's done, and then we will move on. Let me reposition this a little bit to putting it on the scanner. And so this is scanner itself. The part that's actually doing the scanning is in this top, not the bottom. The bottom scanner is for flat art and photographs. the part that scans transparencies, negatives is in the top. Make sure you remove this white button. If you don't, it won't work at all. So take that out. I'm going to put my tray in. I'm going to close the scanner. And that's it. So this concludes part 2. And part 3 will cover software.